With a clear conscience, I would stand with the girl in the center of town and point things out, entablatures, drinking fountains, sky marks, misspelled signs in shop windows, a pair of roofed-over stairwells resembling subway entrances that led citizens down to a vast, underlit comfort station. I would ask the girl, "Where are we today? Which town is this? Can you tell?" She was young, with rude eyes and a block of thick black hair. Her stocky legs were always splodged with bites. She would narrow her body into the shape, the very posture of answering. "Townton," she would say. "Not even close," I would have to tell her. 3. After supper, while the girl played in the yard, the mother and the grandmother would call me into the bedroom that they shared. "What are her chances?" they would say. "How is she to the touch? What should be coming next? Are you going to be doing her a world of good? Are you going to be doing us all a world of good? What kind of timetable are you on? What should we be looking for? What are the signs?" 4. This house had 2 floors, and in no time I had the girl calling them the land of the upstairs and the land of the downstairs. "Making them lands, what does that do?" the mother asked when the girl was outdoors. The room they gave me had a cot, a table, a washstand with a basin. There was no door. I was pretty sure that there had once been a door and that they had taken it down before I came. Each night after the girl was in bed, the mother and the grandmother would appear in the doorway. "How soon?" they would ask. "Too early to tell," I would say. 5. In the late afternoons, after our walk into town, I would smatter the names of stars and crops and oceans into the girl. I got facts off my hands and onto hers. She built tiny empires out of the facts and let me see inside of them. She was warm to the touch. "You can do this," I said, putting her hands on things. The girl's father, I gathered obituarily, had worn V-neck t-shirts. The girl's heart, the girl's heart, I also learned, was set on the slice of florid skin in the mouth of the V. I set her heart elsewhere. I lined things up in the room and pointed at them. I made her put her hands on everything. The girl had some books of her own, books that her mother and grandmother had not known were in the house. She brought the books to me one at a time, and I told her what was wrong with everything they said. They were all about the human body, its depths, and its scope. I had to refute every one of the books, sentence by sentence. The errors could take days, weeks to correct. The girl wrote down the corrections, and later, while she napped, I checked over her work, making changes where they were called for, praising her penmanship wherever it deserved praise. Together in the yard, without knowing what the right tools would have been, the girl and I built partitions, platforms, folding screens. I remember her turning the earth with the claw of a hammer. I started blindfolding the girl for the walk into town. When we reached the center, I would take the blindfold off and ask, "Where must we now be?" The girl was always wrong. 6. Some nights there were abrupt disorders of where the girl's heart got put. The mother and the grandmother would summon me to the girl's room. "Do something," they would cry. I would recite the names of the towns and list the hallmarks, the quiddities of each town, the area first in square yards and then in square meters, the principal creeks and ditches, the annual rainfall, the population, the manufacturers, the number of hospital beds per dozen inhabitants, the elevation, the significant history. After I finished, I would run over the list again, changing all the facts. I would watch the girl's mouth. I would hear a voice getting ready to come. The mother and the grandmother would not leave the room. 7. What the mother and the grandmother fed the girl every night, what she ate with us at the table, the cleverly sliced meats, the vivid salads, the cubed potatoes, all these became the foundation on which afterward in my room, with the mother and the grandmother gawking from the doorway, I built swaying towers of candy and pretzel sticks in the girl's stomach. This is important, I would say. The girl stood still as I patted the food into her mouth. The towers, I explained, are the beginnings of a city. 8. Then my 6 months were up. My stipend had run out. One day I announced to the mother and the grandmother that I would be leaving the next morning. Stay, they said. Finish, they said. They showed me all the leeway they had where their legs went their separate ways. A slucky sound came from their groins, as if a drain were being opened. 9. I slept off and on with the mother and let the grandmother do what she could to me in the mornings when there was feeling in her hands. I remember the day it happened to her mother, the grandmother said to me one morning. In those days, she said, it was called turning ugly. People would say, did your girl turn ugly yet? In this case, they sent a messenger from the school. He had a piece of paper. It said, come and get your girl. She was standing on the steps of the school when I got there. She said, the teacher knows. So I took her out of that school and had her put in a different school, a smaller one. I sewed her an entirely new wardrobe. I told her to make believe she was bashful. She tried her best to become friends with a girl who walked with a limp. She held doors open for the girl and wrote her cheery notes on stationery she bought with her allowance. The girl always wrote back on plain tablet paper, the feeling is ridiculously not mutual. I would find the notes, dozens of them, all saying the same thing, behind the bookcase in her room. In those days, we didn't know what we know now. 10. I had the girl in my room. She was sitting on my table, her legs beating open and closed like wings. Tell me something, I said. Do you have a favorite place? I like them all, she said. Each and every, I said. Each but not every, she said. She flapped her legs. Let me see, I said. She got up and disrobed. There was nothing to see. 11. Which town will you move to? I asked the girl one night after supper. I'll stay here, she said. 12. Another night the girl came to my room on her own. What else are you, she said. Are you anything else? 13. Early one morning I was awakened by the girl's shrieks. I hurried to her room and found the mother and the grandmother already there. Let her cry her face loose, the grandmother said. Let it slide right off her head. Let her learn. She has to learn sooner or later. The girl wept into her palms. She went out for a walk by herself last night after we were all asleep, the mother said. Filthy little thing, the grandmother said. She walked all over the place, high and low, the mother said. She went the whole way into town. Which town? I said. The crying got worse. 14. That afternoon, the girl came to my room to show me that it was there, in place, bristling below the slope of her belly, an isosceles shag of curls.